You wake up in the middle of the night, glance at the partner you recently chose, and suddenly, you feel an overwhelming sense of suffocation. Just yesterday, they seemed absolutely perfect. Yet today, all your mind echoes in this terrifying silence is one word: run. This person hasn't changed, and no tangible disaster has occurred. The real disaster is happening silently inside your skull. You are not just witnessing a romance losing its spark. You are about to enter the deepest chemical and psychological labyrinths of the human condition. What really happens to the mind of someone who makes rapid beginnings and abrupt endings their only way of life? In the first few weeks of any new partnership, your internal system turns into a chemical factory working at maximum capacity. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure, floods every cell in your body. This state activates many of the same reward circuits targeted by highly addictive substances. The world becomes brighter, colors seem more vivid, and a phone lighting up with a new text suddenly becomes the center of the universe. We are evolutionarily wired to seek novelty and rewards, but for a person who constantly jumps from one connection to another, this explosive rush can silently become the ultimate goal. Their unconscious mind is not necessarily looking for a lifelong companion. It is actively hunting for the next thrill. The real problem lies in the fact that our emotional circuitry is designed to protect itself from burning out, meaning it rapidly adapts to these extreme levels of stimulation. After a few short months, the intoxicating glow of the beginning inevitably begins to fade. The body simply cannot maintain this intense arousal forever. At this point, the initial chemical high drops sharply, and the mind crashes into the cold wall of reality. In this exact moment, something strange and dangerous happens. The partner who once seemed flawless suddenly has their imperfections magnified to an extreme degree. Desperately missing its initial rush, the mind begins to fabricate excuses and send warning signals suggesting that this isn't the right person, the spark is gone, or that you are simply bored. For some individuals, these sudden emotional drops can strongly resemble aspects of chemical withdrawal. Instead of staying to navigate the stability phase, which requires effort, patience, and genuine attachment, the person chooses the easiest solution: escape. The search for a fresh start begins, aiming to reboot the reward cycle. They genuinely believe they are searching for true love, while in reality, they are trapped in a vicious cycle of addiction to beginnings. But the consequences extend far beyond immediate pleasure, striking at the very foundations of psychological bonding. Building trust and long-term connections usually requires time, stability, and an accumulation of shared experiences. When a person is subjected to repeated, abrupt severing of these bonds, their attachment patterns begin to shift. The mind is a highly pragmatic system designed to avoid pain. With repeated emotional shocks, the flexibility to respond to deep vulnerability becomes severely guarded. It is not necessarily a permanent biological defect, but rather a defensive adaptation. The ability to fully trust and emotionally invest becomes increasingly difficult and complex with every new partner. The individual feels the initial spark, but the quiet, deep warmth of stable love becomes a massive psychological challenge. Their emotional circuitry hesitates to surrender its keys completely, terrified of the disappointment it has been conditioned to expect. As years pass and the faces and experiences multiply, the damage seeps into a layer much deeper than neurobiology. It threatens identity itself. To successfully attract new partners and adapt to them quickly every time, a person can unwittingly transform into a reflecting mirror, a social chameleon coloring themselves with whatever others desire. In the first dynamic, they might become obsessed with classical art because their companion appreciates it. In the next, they suddenly transform into a lover of extreme mountain climbing. They aren't necessarily faking it with full conscious awareness. They are genuinely trying to blend in to forge a rapid connection. But as this process is repeated dozens of times, the defining lines of their own personality are erased. When they sit alone at the end of the day, removing all the masks they wore, they might look in the mirror and fail to recognize the features staring back. Who am I really? What are my pure interests if there were no one in my life to share them with? This fragmentation creates a terrifying void inside. A black hole they try to silence with the sound of a new notification. The most staggering scientific paradox lies in how the very concept of love can become distorted in this exhausted mind. With a succession of breakups and false starts, the autonomic response system is kept in a constant state of high alert, trapped in a chronic fight-or-flight loop. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes repeatedly. Incredibly, the mind may gradually begin associating chaotic emotional intensity with genuine love. The neural pathways of stress become entangled with the pathways of affection, meaning that chaos, doubt, jealousy, and delayed replies become the primary signals mistakenly translated as passion. Because of this complex reverse engineering, if this person meets someone who is psychologically grounded, stable, and offers them safety and calm without manipulation, their attachment system might simply fail to respond. There is no stress. Therefore, there is no sudden surge in the reward circuits, leading them to conclude that there is no chemistry, or that this person is simply boring. Individuals accustomed to turbulent dynamics might find peaceful connections less exciting. To their altered perception, calm actually feels like an unfamiliar threat. They are compulsively drawn toward complicated or emotionally unavailable partners, because those are the only ones capable of triggering the intense psychological patterns they have adapted to. It is not bad luck in romance. It is an inverse wiring that makes safety feel like a terrifying void. The body keeps the score, holding a meticulous record of these relentless fluctuations. This continuous pattern of depletion and chronic exposure to stress can translate into tangible physical symptoms that are impossible to ignore. Unexplained bouts of insomnia may begin, as sleep requires a sense of safety that the emotional circuitry currently lacks. Chronic fatigue may set in, or the bodily response might weaken over time. The body screams in the language of physical pain because it is overburdened by processing accumulated distress. Every chapter that ends before its psychological impacts are processed can leave its mark on how trust is built later. These unresolved echoes pile up until they become a silent mountain of exhaustion, until the journey reaches a point of absolute collapse. This breakdown doesn't happen with a dramatic explosion. It arrives in heavy, suffocating silence. A pivotal moment comes when the reward system is no longer capable of responding to any new stimulus. The phone lights up, a highly attractive person expresses their deep admiration, but there is absolutely no feeling. No racing heartbeat, no rush of pleasure, not even a fleeting curiosity. It is just a crushing spiritual and mental exhaustion that paralyzes movement, a state of complete emotional burnout. In this violent silence, the terrifying truth floats to the surface. All these beginnings, all those passing faces, were never a journey to find a soulmate. It was a desperate, panicked escape from the self. The mind was using new people as potent painkillers, as loud background noise to drown out true thoughts, and to avoid facing deep, unhealed wounds, hidden fears of abandonment, or a profound sense of unworthiness. They had been sprinting at top speed all these years, terrified of pausing for a single second, because stopping meant the inevitability of sitting in an empty room with the only person they had been avoiding their entire life, themselves. In this defining moment of harsh awareness, the ultimate illusion shatters. True connection is not finding someone to fill your internal void. It is being grounded and reconciled with yourself enough to share your world without being swallowed by someone else's identity. A mind drained by dozens of fleeting attachments does not need a new thrill to heal. It requires a strict emotional fast, a space of courageous solitude to allow a gradual recovery of the brain and nervous system, to slowly acclimate to the quietness of stability, and to build, through neuroplasticity, new and healthy psychological patterns that no longer link drama to passion. True healing begins the moment you realize that loneliness amidst a crowd of lovers is the harshest kind of isolation, and that the real safety you have been searching for cannot be drawn from the admiring gaze of a stranger, but from the ability to look in the mirror, in the silence of an empty room, and feel absolute, unwavering peace with the person standing there. This shift is not just a philosophical idea. It is a profound restructuring of a mind that has finally decided to stop running and, for the first time, start facing life. The human mind is a landscape of hidden mechanisms, and what lies beneath our daily choices can change how we perceive reality forever. Here at MENTRA, we refuse to accept the surface-level answers. We dive into the science, psychology, and hidden truths that drive human behavior. If this thought experiment shifted your perspective on how we connect and why we run, make sure to like this video and subscribe to MENTRA. Turn on your notifications so you never miss our next cinematic journey into the unknown. We want to hear from you down in the comments. Have you ever noticed these psychological patterns in yourself or someone you know? And what do you think is the hardest part about breaking the cycle? We read every theory, and we'll see you in the next video as we continue to decode the mysteries of our world.